The time I walked to my GF's house in the snow. Basically, school was down for a few days due to snow in Texas, and me and my GF wanted to hang out, because we were not seeing each other like we had been in school. So at this point it is still snowing, and there's quite a wind blowing, making it colder, which I was unaware of. We talked about me possibly walking to her house and stuff like that early in the day. We ended up deciding I could probably just walk there after I looked on Google Maps to see if there was an easy path I could follow, and sure enough there was. As long as I got to some train tracks, it was literally just a giant curve to her house. Maybe 10 to 15 miles. So I of course told her where I'd be and how I'd travel, etc, etc. I waited until nighttime and put on basically a hoodie over my normal clothes, totally not fit for what I was about to do. So I start walking and I'm on the phone with her the whole time, and I make it to the train tracks and start following them. At some point I remember just stopping for no reason and told my GF I'd be off the phone for a bit to use the flashlight. Sure enough, I came up to a small bridge where each railroad tie had a gap between them, i.e. I would have probably fallen in the dark. I still think it's weird I stopped when I did. Anyways, I end up cutting through a field, which may have honestly cut off a few miles being a straight shot. I eventually find a street I recognize and start jogging to her house and make it. So I tell her I'm there and to let me in, which she does. Later she told me that my hair was frozen in place. Then once I got inside, I was cramping and shaking badly from how cold I was. I ended up in her bedroom and stripped to my boxers and got under her blanket. She did likewise and cuddled me even though I was freezing. We fell asleep together. Nothing happened. The next morning, we got her mom to drive me home, lol. I'd date her 3 more years for a total of 4.
I think my boyfriend is gay. Me, 19F, have been dating my boyfriend, 21M, for quite a few years. From the beginning he has been quite effeminate. He likes to wear skirts from time to time. He does not follow male stereotypes. He really likes things that in society are classified as for girls, and this never bothered me, but lately he has taken this further. All of his celebrity crushes are men. Every time we watch a series he is attracted to the men characters. He is simping over male singers, and he doesn't pay any attention to women, and it's really weird and confusing. When I ask him about it he just denies it, but he proves absolutely nothing. He recently told me that if he could choose he would be a woman. This situation is making me too uncomfortable and I don't know what to do. I am very sad because I really feel that it is crossing some limits and it even seems disgusting to me. I try to set limits but he always takes it as a joke and repeats it the next day, and I don't know what to do. I really love him, he is a wonderful boy, but I can't stand this. The idea of my boyfriend approaching another man seems repulsive to me. I don't want to get carried away by prejudices, but my boyfriend doesn't help it. What would you do in my situation? My best friend found out he was trans and we made it work between us. My best friend and I met when we were freshmen in high school. We were the only ones not sitting with anyone in the room at gym class, so she at the time sat next to me and we became quick friends. We liked the same franchises and she would show me ones that I didn't know that she liked, and I enjoyed hearing her talk about them. We ended up spending as much time together in school as we could, to the point where a lot of people outside of our small friend group thought we were dating. We dismissed what everyone said at the time and just enjoyed the talking we did, the lunches we shared, and the music we listened to together. That was until we were both romantically pursued by each other's friends that knew us before high school. I should mention that the guy she dated was not a good friend of mine. In fact, I only kept in contact with him because I respected his father, but the girl I dated was a good friend of my best friend from middle school. Anyways, my best friend and this guy start dating and her friend and I start hanging out more as friends until one day she decides to kiss me by surprise, and by her request we start dating as well. However, a month goes by and she breaks off the relationship for her own reasons, but still demands to keep me as a placeholder for senior year stuff like homecoming and prom. Around the same time, my best friend broke up with the other guy and he luckily moved to another state soon after. It turns out that he had a lot of problems and was extremely clingy to my best friend, basing their relationship on the one scene in the hit musical Heathers, the whole "Our love is God" bit. After my best friend and I started hanging out again, we told each other everything and confided in hating each other's exes together, which more or less tore down the rest of the friend group in its wake. By the time we graduated, only the two of us remained in contact with each other, which definitely made leaving for college a hurtful experience for the both of us. That's the backstory for how our friendship built up over the years. Now on to the part the title suggests. Before moving to college, my best friend had already begun exploring and researching into the LGBTQ community and had found a place in it, but after moving away from home and living in a dorm, they were able to look into it in much more depth. Over time, I began to see small things like trans pins on their lanyard and eventually a trans flag on their wall. They didn't tell me anything about it explicitly, so I couldn't piece together whether or not they're trans themselves or if having the flag and pins was in solidarity. Either way, I felt that I was missing out on a huge point of their life, and I began to feel that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with them. Eventually they referred to themselves as trans in a casual conversation, and I was able to naturally ask them for more details. It turns out that they are in fact a trans man, and my presumptions were proven correct. About a year goes by after that, and we found ourselves spending time at his house over one of our breaks like we did in high school. I was still wrestling with the feelings I've gained for him and just thought of spending as much time as I possibly could with him before we eventually drifted apart, until at one point in the night in his dark bedroom, he grabbed my hand and asked me if we could be more than friends from now on. My heart skipped 2 beats and my eyes widened. Here I was feeling depressed that my feelings would never be returned, and here he is, proving me wrong in the best way possible. Anyways, we're now making things work between us, and we're making plans to move in together in a house after he graduates. If you told me 7 years ago that I would end up in a gay relationship with my best friend, I would have laughed, but here I am now, an official gay man, and I love it. Found my sister lost at the peak of a mountain. The night settled over the small town like a thick shroud of darkness, casting long shadows over the deserted streets. A creeping sense of unease gripped the air, causing even the bravest souls to shiver with apprehension. In the midst of this eerie quietude, a tale unfolded, one that would unsettle the minds of those who dared to journey into its heart. Deep within the gloom, in a dilapidated Victorian mansion, a group of strangers found themselves drawn together by a shared secret. Each of them carried burdens too heavy to bear alone, haunted by past traumas that refused to let go. Little did they know that fate had woven their paths together as they unwittingly walked into a web of supernatural horrors. As the tension mounted, the mansion became a battleground for both the haunted and the haunts. Ghostly apparitions prowled the corridors, their tormented wails rattling the very foundation of the house. Shadows danced in the corners of their vision, whispering sinister secrets that threatened to unravel their sanity. Within this harrowing landscape, their deepest fears materialized. Childhood monsters manifested in flesh and bone, clawing at the fragile veil of sanity that shielded them from the horrors that lurked just beyond their consciousness. Each corner turned held the potential for terror, and the maniacal laughter of unseen entities echoed through the halls, driving them closer to the edge of madness. But it was their collective will, their determination to face the darkness head-on, that forged them into a formidable force. Armed with torches of hope and resolve, they ventured forth into the belly of the beast, confronting the unspeakable evils that awaited them. Bloody pasts clashed with uncertain futures, and an epic battle of light and darkness played out in every room, every corridor, saturating the very essence of the mansion. In the crucible of this nightmarish ordeal, those who had been shattered found fragments of themselves reassembling. Bonds forged in fear grew unbreakable as they discovered the strength that lies hidden in the deepest recesses of their souls. And as dawn approached, casting its pure golden light upon the battered mansion, they emerged victorious, forever changed by their raw confrontation with terror. The small town, scarred by the battle, would never be the same again. Whispers of their legendary courage would pass through generations, a testament to the raw power of human resilience in the face of unspeakable horror. And though the wounds would heal and the memories would fade, the raw truth remained etched in the collective conscience of that haunted place, forever reminding its citizens of the darkness that still dwells within.